Hi, I'm Chrissy.
And I'm Jess, and this is Financial Progress.
Before we begin, I just want to give a little disclaimer that this is just a conversation between friends. This is not financial advice. Please seek the help of a financial professional before making any financial decisions.
Hi, welcome. Today we have Alfredo Matos, a financial coach from Cashview Points. Welcome.
Yes, thanks for joining us again, Alfredo. We appreciate it.
Absolutely. Glad to be here. Thanks for the opportunity.
So today we're going to do something a little different with our special guest. We're going to read one of our Reddits, Am I the Asshole? And just see reactions after that. All right, let's see. All right, so the topic or the title, it says AITA for not giving my mom her monthly money so I could have extra spending money on my vacation.
Okay.
Okay. So, all right, you ready? All right. 26-year-old female says, I give my mom a set amount of money every month. She's retired and gets a pension, but she says it's not enough to cover her expenses. She insists that it's my responsibility as her daughter to help her out financially. My sister and her husband give my mom more money than I can, and they have a baby, which makes me feel even more guilty. They often remind me that they manage to give more even with their extra responsibilities. This month, I decided not to give my mom her usual amount because I planned a 10-day vacation with my fiance to another city. I could have still gone on the trip while giving her the money, but I wanted to have more spending money to fully enjoy my time away. Now my mom is upset and her attitude towards me has shifted. This isn't the first time she's been cold or distant when I couldn't or didn't give her money. Even though I know I could technically afford both, I feel guilty for choosing to prioritize myself and my vacation instead. So Reddit, AITA, for skipping my monthly contribution to my mom so I could have more financial freedom on my trip. Thoughts
So,
before I read any
yeah,
updates?
my first thought is what kind of notice did she give her mom? Because if her mom was like relying on that money on a monthly basis, did she just say like was her mom expecting it on the first of the month and she said, "Mom, I can't give it to you today," or did she say, "Mom, I have a vacation plan like coming up. I can't do it that month." Like how much notice did she give her, or did she just cut her cold turkey? Like I just kind of wonder if a little bit on that. What are your first thoughts, Alfredo?
Yeah. Similarly, there's so many things we can think of here. Did you make a commitment,
Mhm.
even if it voluntarily, right? You say, I will, contribute this much in appreciation or whatever, right? To you every month, blah, blah, blah. And that's different, right? So if you make a commitment and you're trying to change it, you're still giving. So I guess you could pull it back, but it's about having communication, right? Now, if
Mhm.
it set the expectations clearly up front too, like it's like, look, I will intend or try to give you about this much every month when I can. Sometimes I may not be able to, and I'll tell you as much in advance as I can. So if you say those things and you set those boundaries and the expectations, and the other person, whoever it is, still kind of like reacts negatively to it, they probably don't deserve your money, honestly.
Mhm.
But if you say it and they're like, okay, yeah, that's fine, that's okay. Now the other one, the whole the sibling, trying to make her feel bad about, hey, you don't give as much or whatever. That's none of their business how much you give. You're still giving. I mean, you're being generous. Whether it's your mom, your grandparents, whoever.
Mhm.
This is still something you're not required to do, right? I
Correct.
always say the biggest satisfaction I get is using money to help people I love.
Mhm.
Mhm.
But it's still not something I am required to do, right?
Mhm.
So anyway, yeah, that's my first thought.
No. Uh, my first thought was the whole thing of like expecting. Like
Mhm.
just because I'm your daughter doesn't mean I need to give you money every month, right? So it's just like, man. But like Alfredo said, like what was set up in the beginning for this.
Yeah, I'm also for like being generous and helping people, giving when you can, not if it puts you in a bad financial situation. But I also think like she shouldn't compare herself to her sister's situation. Like I
Mhm.
does it say if she's married or anything? I know her sister is married, so she has probably more than one income. Not 100% sure there, but the person speaking
Mhm.
or talking in the Reddit thread, I'm not sure if she is married or has multiple incomes or not. So I think it is generous of her to want to help her mom, but I also think like if she decides not to, then she should give her mom like
Then it's
notice
okay.
ahead of time
Alright.
if she can't do it a certain month or chooses not to do it a certain month.
I'm gonna read some updates that she, I guess, answered people or edits. That's what it says. So I did tell her I wouldn't be able to send her the money this month. That's why she said no matter what happens, it's my responsibility to help her financially. I didn't give her a month notice, just some days before I went on vacation. That was one. Some of you have been asking what her pension is. It's $1,400, but we live in Colombia, so life here is cheaper than in the US. For everyone saying I shouldn't be giving her any money and that's not my responsibility, I've tried to tell her I'll help her out when I can, but this only leads to her growing resentment towards me, turning cold, etc. I basically have no other option because if I don't send anything, my family says I'm an asshole. If I send only when I can, they also get angry because my sister helps monthly. The only way to keep them happy is to send her money each month. I do feel used, and honestly, I only send not because I feel it in my heart, but because I feel it's the only way to keep peace in the family and avoid drama. And then the last one was I give her $250 a month. My sister gives double, and she covers the expenses of lighting service. My mother lives alone in a big apartment she owns, so it's a bit more expensive than a regular apartment.
Wow.
Does that change any perspective?
I think it's sad that it's expected. It should just be like an extra amount of money. Like I don't know what kind of spending habits her mom has or if she spends responsibly or she just blows that money, but to me it's kind of like a little sad to expect it from your kid knowing that they still have a life to develop, and it sounds like it's a struggle for her to come up with that $250 a month and still do the things that she wants to do and live her life. So for her mom to make her feel guilty and her family to make her feel guilty for not giving it is kind of sad. I don't know.
It's
It's
not
a little,
fair.
yeah.
Yeah, there's so much in there though. It sounds like maybe she's in the U.S. and the family's in Colombia. I don't know if she said where she's at, but regardless, like it is a very common in our Hispanic cultures to have the expectation of the younger generation taking care of the elders, right? And I don't think, I mean, that's not necessarily wrong. I guess ideally you would have every person kind of like plan for their future, but you have seen families where one generation sacrificed a lot, maybe their own opportunities in a way, just to give better opportunities to the next generation. So if that's the case, I mean, I would kind of like feel compelled to give back, right? um but still, like the thing, what bothers me about this whole thing is that the attitude of one to the other depends on this money. That's
Yes.
wrong, regardless of the setup, right? Even if that family, if you think it is fair that the newer generation is helping the previous one because of whatever happened before, it should still not affect how you feel about each other. The fact that she said, I'm not doing this out of what I feel in my heart, but just to, that's the wrong reason to provide the money, right?
Yeah.
And so people should not, it's hard, that's why I say money touches everything, but people should not base how they treat you or the relationship that you have as a person, as a family member, based on what I give you or don't give you, right? That should be a separate issue. That should be, like, hey, I am not happy that you didn't whatever do this or that, but you're still my daughter. I still love you. Come eat, kind of thing. You know what I mean? That
Right.
should completely be two completely separate topics, in my
Yeah.
opinion.
Yeah, sounds like her love is a little conditional on this instead of just being like unconditional love toward your children. It's more like, I love you if you give me this money, or I love you more if you give me this money, which is pretty sad.
Or maybe just find ways to make it easier financially. Like if she is relying on this money, then maybe she needs to move.
Yeah.
Move in with the sister. I don't know at that point.
Yeah, on that too. I mean, it's different when you are, you're helping somebody and they really, really need it or whatever, but they're doing everything they can, right? And you want to help, especially if it's your parents. Like if they're struggling and they're doing everything they can, everything in their power to get healthier financially and they just can't get there, and you can make that difference, absolutely do it. But if whether it's parents, siblings, whoever, if it's somebody just making stupid decisions over and over and over, and you provide like support in terms of information, and they just don't want to hear it, you just need to start saying no. If that's the case, if it's not enough because they're just making bad decisions, you need to say no and let them fail.
Yeah.
So that then the money you provide later on can actually make a difference. Because if somebody's just doing the wrong thing over and over, you could pour all of your wealth into that person. They could still, not do well because they're just making wrong decisions. I used to live in Georgia, and there's a town called Asheville, beautiful town. There's the biggest private estate in the United States is there. It's called, I think they call it now Biltmore Estate or something like that. But that was built by one of the sons of, I think it was Vanderbilt, a son of one of the richest people that had been in the U.S. At the time. And they built a huge mansion because they had inherited so much money. It was hard to be able to physically spend all that money. They inherited so much, right? And he succeeded by building this huge house and bringing people all over the world, and it was just so big that the generations after him, they had to like not leave the house and basically didn't have any money to even maintain it. So the point, it was huge, like almost unimaginable amounts of wealth given to this child that he mismanaged, right? So my point is, doesn't matter how much you give them, if they're making their own decisions, sometimes you need to stop and tell them no, and let them fix the source issues, so that if you do help, it makes a difference.
Yes, definitely. Because that $250 put into like a Roth IRA for herself over time would be a lot of money. So
That's
I
the cost
wonder
of
if
opportunity.
I wonder if she's taking care of herself and her needs before trying to help others, because that is super important. I'm not sure if she's doing that at all, if she's putting away money for her future, her own future.
Yeah. No, we are not sure. A lot of
So-
people are here though are arguing the fact that she's getting almost $2,000 a month without her $250, and like her apartments out there are like $650. So they're like, she's got more than enough.
Yeah.
But the end results of everyone responding says that she is not the asshole.
I agree. I agree. I don't think she's
I
the
agree.
asshole. Yeah, my question in the beginning was, did she give her mom notice? It sounds like she gave
A few days.
a few days.
Yeah.
But still, $250 shouldn't really break you. Maybe she had to spend a little less that month. And she gave her notice. And you want your kids. I mean, I don't have kids, but I would imagine you want your kids to enjoy their life. So I wouldn't. Yeah, I don't think it's fair to expect that from her, especially if she needs to take care of her own priorities.
They're calling mom a narcissist.
Could be.
Yeah. Any final thoughts?
No, I mean, I think it's great to be generous if you have the means to do so. But I also think and strongly believe that you have to take care of your own self first and your own future first, because then it's just going to be a spiral out of control down the line. Then they're going to have to rely on future generations for money, and you want to break that cycle and just develop enough wealth to take care of yourself.
Absolutely. And if you are a person that just enjoys giving so much, which most people are, right? If you prioritize yourself, your finances, and you get healthier, later on you can give even more, right? But you should not give at the expense of you getting healthier, right? You need to have a balance. When you're starting out, you can still give, but it needs to be a little tiny amount so that you can get healthier. When you get healthier financially, feel free, and I encourage people to increase the amount of giving.
Yeah.
And the wealthier you become, the more you'll be able to do for other people, and it's beautiful to do that. But keeping that balance as you move through stages of your financial progress, you need to have that into account, and it should be switched, and it should start little and get bigger as you grow.
Yeah, perfectly said.
Yep, that was great. And he added financial progress in there.
Right. I love it. Well, thank you everyone for listening. We would love to hear your thoughts on this topic. So comment on whatever platform you're listening to, and we'll talk to you all soon.
Alfredo, thanks for joining us.
My pleasure.
Yes, thank you again. We really appreciate it.
Yeah.
Bye, everyone.